Microsoft has been exposed for designing Windows 11 to connect to third-party services and trackers immediately upon a fresh installation. This means your new computer's data begins flowing to external companies right from the initial setup process. This video walks you through the documented evidence, explains what data is transmitted, and traces how it reaches a wide network of partners. It also provides a detailed guide to minimize or stop these connections. Independent security researchers have conducted rigorous tests on clean Windows 11 installations to capture exactly what happens on first boot. They start with an official Microsoft ISO file, install the operating system on a completely fresh machine or virtual environment with no additional software, and use network monitoring tools like Wireshark to log every outbound connection. The results are consistent across multiple reports. Within minutes of completing setup, the system makes connections not only to Microsoft servers, but also to domains operated by third parties. For example, one detailed analysis revealed outbound requests to scorecardresearch.com, which is owned by Comscore, a major web analytics company that collects data on user behavior across websites. Steam community servers from Valve also received pings, ostensibly for game compatibility checks, that could later inform Microsoft Store recommendations. Some McAfee domains are contacted for security-related baseline information, and content delivery networks, like Akamai, handle some of these requests, which often include tracking elements. These findings come from packet captures shared by researchers and covered in technology news outlets focused on privacy and security. These connections occur during the out-of-box experience, or OOBE, the setup wizard where you configure language, region, and a user account. Windows 11 frames these as necessary for features like personalization and compatibility verification. However, they effectively create a profile of your hardware, such as your processor type, amount of RAM, screen resolution, and even initial user interactions, before you have a chance to adjust privacy settings. Microsoft's official privacy statement acknowledges that diagnostic data, including device inventory and basic usage information, is collected and sent by default during this phase. The company also states that this data can be shared with partners in aggregated form to improve services. To understand what is actually transmitted, consider the sequence of events on a typical fresh install. Upon first boot, Windows 11 activates services like the Connected User Experience, or CUX, which is responsible for gathering diagnostic information. This includes a hardware fingerprint, unique identifiers for your CPU, GPU, memory configuration, operating system build number, and regional settings. This bundle is transmitted to Microsoft endpoints, such as vortex.data.microsoft.com and settings-win.data.microsoft.com. There are two levels of diagnostic data, required and optional. Required data, which cannot be fully disabled, still covers essential diagnostics like crash reports and security events. Optional data adds details on app usage, feature interactions, and performance metrics. Even selecting the minimal required option during setup does not eliminate all outbound traffic. Network monitoring tests on idle systems after setup show approximately 15 to 20 megabytes of data sent per day, with larger bursts during background updates. The third-party connections layer on top of this. Steam is queried to check for existing game libraries, which helps Windows suggest relevant titles in the Microsoft Store. McAfee receives a request to assess security posture, potentially leading to promotional nudges. Comscore's service begins establishing a baseline for analytics, logging your IP address, connection timestamps, and device characteristics. Microsoft maintains that all such data is anonymized, stripped of personal identifiers like your name or email, but researchers point out that combinations of hardware specs, IP addresses, and timing data can still uniquely identify devices when correlated with other sources. Privacy-focused tools corroborate these findings. Applications like O&O Shutup 10 analyze Windows settings and block over 50 known telemetry domains. Yet users report persistent connections to a subset of endpoints. This persistence stems from how deeply integrated these services are into core Windows components, such as the kernel-level telemetry stack and background intelligence transfer service. The scale expands dramatically when we examine Microsoft's partner ecosystem. The company's legal documentation, including its privacy and services agreements, explicitly allows for sharing aggregated and anonymized telemetry data with third parties. These include original equipment manufacturers, or OEMs, such as Dell and Lenovo, who use the insights to refine firmware updates and hardware configurations based on real-world usage patterns. Security companies like FireEye receive portions of the data for threat intelligence sharing, where Microsoft benefits from external expertise in return. Analytics firms such as Nielsen incorporate Windows telemetry into broader usage benchmarks, which are then sold to advertisers and market researchers. Each of these partners operates its own network. Comscore, for instance, provides audience measurement data to hundreds of clients across industries. A single connection from your machine contributes to data sets that are processed, repackaged, and distributed further. Consider the ripple effect. Akamai, as a content delivery network, serves clients ranging from streaming services to e-commerce platforms, embedding tracking capabilities within its infrastructure. Steam's involvement feeds into Valve's ecosystem, which includes cross-promotions with Microsoft gaming services. With Windows powering roughly 70% of desktop computers globally, these signals aggregate into massive data sets. What begins as one packet from your PC becomes part of dashboards and reports, accessed by potentially hundreds of entities in Microsoft's extended partner network. Re-identification risks add another layer of concern. Studies from institutions like Princeton University have demonstrated that even anonymized operating system telemetry, when combined with basic browser or network data, can re-identify users with high accuracy, over 90% in controlled tests. Then Microsoft addresses this by applying techniques like data minimization and pseudonymization, but the sheer volume and variety of signals make complete privacy challenging. This is not a new issue for Microsoft. Windows 10 faced significant scrutiny starting in 2015, when its default Express installation opted users into full telemetry collection, leading to widespread privacy debates and adjustments in later updates. Windows 11 builds on this foundation, but introduces tighter integration with a Microsoft account, the Edge browser as the pinned default, and AI features like Copilot, which rely on usage data for personalization and model training. Copilot, in particular, processes on-screen context and chat interactions, retaining data for up to 30 days or longer for quality improvements, as outlined in Microsoft's documentation. Sheer users who opt for a local account during setup avoid some account link tracking, but core diagnostics remain active. Community forums dedicated to privacy, such as Reddit's r/privacy subreddit, document user experiences where aggressive blocking leads to warnings about throttled updates or reduced functionality, Microsoft's way of encouraging compliance. Regulatory attention has followed. European Union authorities have investigated Microsoft under GDPR for telemetry practices, resulting in commitments to greater transparency and user controls. These developments underscore that while Microsoft positions telemetry as vital for security and innovation, the balance between improvement and privacy remains contentious. You can significantly reduce these data flows through targeted configuration changes, starting from a fresh install. The goal is to minimize required diagnostics, block unnecessary endpoints, and remove bloatware that contributes to tracking. Here's a step-by-step approach applicable to Windows 11 Home, Pro, or Enterprise editions. Begin with the installation itself. Disconnect from the internet during the out-of-box experience by disabling Wi-Fi or unplugging Ethernet. This prevents the setup from prompting for a Microsoft account and allows you to create a local account instead. Once setup complete and you connect online, navigate to Settings, then Accounts, and under your info, select Sign In with a local account instead. This avoids linking your device to cloud services that amplify data collection. Next, adjust privacy settings immediately. Go to Settings, Privacy and Security, Diagnostics and Feedback. Set diagnostic data to Required, which limits collection to the bare minimum. Under that section, turn off Improve Inking and Typing, Tailored Experiences, and any other optional toggles. Delete the diagnostic data history if available. In the same Privacy and Security area, disable Location, Find My Device, YID and Activity History to further reduce signals. For Windows 11 Pro or Enterprise users, leverage Group Policy Editor for deeper control. Press Windows, key plus R, type gpedit.msc and hit Enter. Navigate to Computer Configuration, Administrative Templates, Windows Components, Data Collection, and Documents. Double-click Allow Telemetry, set it to Disabled, and choose a level of 0 for no telemetry. In the same path, disable Allow Diagnostic Data and Related Policies. Extend this to OneDrive by going to Administrative Templates, greater than Windows Components, greater than OneDrive, and enabling Prevent the Usage of OneDrive for file storage. Under Windows Components, greater than Search, disable Allow Cortana and Web Search integration. Firewall rules provide another layer of defense. Open Windows Defender Firewall with advanced security. Create new outbound rules to block traffic to key domains. Right-click, Outbound Rules, greater than New Rule, greater than Custom, greater than All Programs. In the Scope tab, under Remote IP Addresses, add entries like vortex.*data.microsoft.com, settings.*data.microsoft.com, *telemetry.microsoft.com, and watson.telemetry.microsoft.com. For third parties, include scorecardresearch.com, *.valvesoftware.com if you do not use Steam, and redir.metaservices.microsoft.com. Apply the rule to block the connection and name it descriptively, such as telemetry block. Supplement with third-party utilities designed for this purpose. Senwono Shut Up 10++ scans your system and disables over 50 telemetry-related settings with a single click, offering granular restore options. Windows Spy Blocker provides pre-curated hosts file entries and firewall rules updated regularly by the community. Glasswire monitors your network in real time, visualizing data flows so you can confirm reductions and expect idle traffic to drop near zero after implementation. Simcristitis Tech's WinUtil is a PowerShell-based tool that debloats Windows by removing Edge, Cortana, the Microsoft Store, and other telemetry-heavy components. For verification, install Wireshark after hardening and monitor for an hour on an idle system. Filter captures by destination ports 80 and 443 to see only web traffic. Compare against a stock install to quantify the difference. Advanced users can create a bootable USB with Rufus, which offers options to disable telemetry at the ISO modification stage. Hypothetically, if you were testing this in a virtual machine using software like VirtualBox or VMware, you could snapshot before and after changes, reverting easily to measure impact without risking your main system. Maintaining these settings requires periodic checks, as Windows updates can re-enable certain features. Schedule monthly reviews of privacy settings and run debloat tools after major patches. Enable the host file for additional blocking by editing c:\windows\system 32 \drivers, etc, /hosts, and appending lines like 0.0.0.0 vortex.data.microsoft.com. If Windows telemetry proves too persistent, consider alternatives. Linux distributions like Ubuntu, Fedora, nor user-friendly options such as Zorin OS and Pop_OS offer Windows-like interfaces with no built-in telemetry. They boot quietly, without phoning home, and support most hardware out of the box. Transitioning involves backing up data and reinstalling applications, but the privacy gains are substantial. At its core, Windows 11 treats your computer as part of a larger ecosystem, where diagnostic data fuels improvements, but also sustains Microsoft's business model through ads, partnerships, money, and services. Advertisers receive aggregated behavior profiles for targeting. OEMs optimize products based on fleet-wide stats. You encounter subtle nudges, like store recommendations or upgrade prompts, derived from these insights. Awareness empowers you to decide how much to participate. A single hardened installation can prevent gigabytes of data leakage annually, preserving bandwidth and privacy. This is not about eliminating all connectivity. Updates and security require some, but about reclaiming control over what leaves your device. If these packet captures surprise you, share in the comments what domain concerned you most or your experience blocking telemetry. Subscribe for a follow-up deep dive into live network analysis comparing stock and hardened setups. Your attention to these details protects not just your data, but the broader conversation on digital privacy.